Okay, hi everyone, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me here today. Yep, my name's Eden, that's me, so you can't miss it. So just to kick off today, what we'll be talking about, about how to structure web pages so that you can solve for both SEO and conversions at the same time. Just to help illustrate how we're going to actually do that is just by sharing a little story. Do you know that there's actually something called an infinite web page? These pages always tend to rank super good, and I think maybe you've come across one of these before. Let me show you what I mean. I think this page I scrolled for about 5 minutes until I actually got to the recipe, which is what I actually looked for in the first place. But it was the first page that came up in the search results. So the information that I was looking for was there on the page, but it took me a good long time until I actually found it. And the thing is, just because we can do things like keyword stuffed web pages, it doesn't mean that we actually should do it. Because at the end result, the user experience is just, pretty terrible. And if the user's experience on the page isn't good, first thing first, they get a bad impression of the company. Of course, I'm probably not going to ever go back to their website ever again for a cookie recipe. Your users will be less likely to make a repeat visit. And third and final thing is they'll be less likely to convert. If you actually have affiliate links or if you have any links, a sign-up button, anything that you're offering on the page, they'll be far less likely to convert as a result. And again, so that's what we're exactly going to be talking about today, about crafting web pages that do bridge this gap between ranking good, performing good in terms of SEO, and convert well. And the way we do it is by prioritizing a good user experience on the page. This, what we're going to be discussing here, is applicable to any type of web pages: home pages, platform pages, feature pages, use case pages, blog posts, of course, absolutely everything you can think of. Why? So the question, I think, is why? Why focus on prioritizing the user experience? Well, kind of the first thing is, wasn't that the point of Google's helpful content update? By prioritizing a good user experience, actually the page ranking is going to increase, but as well, it's going to increase lots of key metrics: time on page, number of pages per session on a website, and all kinds of juicy things like scroll depth and things like that as well. So by prioritizing user experience, it means we need to organize the structure of the content on the page so that it feels intuitive to the reader, so that when they land on the page, they understand, I'm in the right place, the information that I'm looking for, or the goal that I'm looking to achieve, I can achieve it with what's on this page. Fantastic. And then they'll actually dig into the page to start reading it, start engaging with it in greater depth. Because if your users can find the information that they're looking for really, really quickly, they'll settle in to read the page. I'm just repeating myself now. They'll engage with it, and they'll be far more motivated to convert as a result, which will actually help your company or client achieve what they're actually looking to do with these web pages, and that is win more customers and make more money. So they might say, we want to rank number one, we want to be a thought leader, we want to be a trusted resource. At the end of the day, we all know it comes down to these two things. The question is, how do you actually do the thing, right? How do we look at structuring a web page, structuring the content on a web page so that we prioritize the user experience? Well, it's actually easier than you think. It just takes two things. The first thing is an understanding of how people behave on web pages. That's going to help us figure out how we should structure the content of the page to enable people to find the information that they're looking for quickly, to make them feel confident and make them feel understood, that they know what they're looking for is here on this page. And the same time and the second step is to apply some conversion copywriting tips to help make the reading more engaging. The words more engaging, to pull people in, to make sure that they're actually stopping to read and convert. Then, as a result, get that chance to persuade them. So, first things first, understand how people behave on web pages. Raise your hand if you heard at least once in the last week people don't read online. Yeah. Well, they're right. I know this sounds really weird coming from a copywriter, but there's a huge distinction here when we look at web pages. The thing is, because people read paper, they use the web. I'm going to repeat that now for dramatic effect. People read paper, they use the web. We read books from start to finish, even if we don't like them. But we scan, scroll, skip around web pages until we're confident that the information that we're looking for is on the page, and then we'll actually settle in to read it. And the Nielsen-Norman group actually found this to be true based on 3 large-scale eye tracking studies over the course of 13 years. Found that 79% of users scan web pages, and only 16% actually settle in to read the whole thing. Huge difference. So they also found that how people use web pages varies depending on 4 different factors. One, the user's motivation, how motivated, how desperate they are to complete their goal, the type of task that they're looking for, if they're just generally doing research, they're browsing, they're reading something for fun, they're researching, or they're actually looking to sign up for a free trial or actually purchase something, their level of focus. We can assume most days that most people are distracted to some sort of degree, no matter where they're browsing web pages on and on which device, and personal characteristics, which of course we have no control over. But what does this understanding of how people engage with web pages teach us about structuring the content on our pages? Well, everything. If we want our pages to rank well and by delivering that good user experience, we have to take into account then these 3 things, and this is what you can apply. So taking this knowledge, apply this when you're looking at structuring your next web page to help make sure that the content feels very intuitive to the reader. So we have understanding of eye reading patterns, applying the inverted pyramid, and then good formatting. So let's dig into it. So number 1, about the most 4 common eye scanning patterns with content-heavy web pages. We know the F shape. So when people are scanning, they're usually researching something. So when they're scanning search results, they'll go across, down, and like that in almost an F shape. They actually found this to be true also for languages that read from right to left as well. It's the opposite F shape. They find it true. So it's very interesting that it's cross-cultural. This type of scanning behavior, again, it helps show us that people really scan and skip before they actually settle in to read a page. We have the spotted pattern, so usually someone is looking for doing research, someone is looking for very specific pieces of information. They're trying to cherry pick here and there and scanning all over the page to find what they're looking for. The layer cake, which is where we see how people are scanning across, up and down across, they're jumping between the different paragraphs and different sections of text, just like a nice juicy cake. And then the commitment pattern, which almost looked like someone had a good dose of coffee before they viewed this page, but actually they were really motivated to read the content on the page, or they were really interested in reading it because they were in a reading mood and they really liked the author, or that they were actually very confident that they found what they were looking for and dug into the page to have a good read. And this is actually also one of the rarest types because it means someone's actually committed to reading all the content that's on the page. So again, having this in mind, how people tend to interact with web pages, that means that we can make sure that we're structuring the content, that we're shifting content from left to right on the page, or that how we're separating up different paragraphs and different sections in order to meet the needs of your users. And of course, this also helps with keyword research. It's a bit hard to go into a couple of examples I was just talking about with Joe with this before. It's kind of hard to show you how to write if I can't actually write here for you. But there's an example. You can go have a look at this on Google. This is actually a landing page. It's a 2,000 word long landing page. And it's structured to actually also read like a blog post. It ranks well for this brand Kai, both in SEO and in terms of conversions. It converts at 25%, and that's since they launched it a couple of years ago. So it's still converting, which is great. But at the same time, it prioritized that user experience. We used a different combination of, we made sure that we solved for a lot of different eye reading patterns at the same time to help increase those conversions. The second tip is to help make sure that you structure your page content like an inverted pyramid. Any journalists or former journalists in the room? Show hands. Yay, okay, couple, there we go. So you'll be really familiar with this idea of the inverted pyramid. It's something you'll recognize it in a minute on some types of web pages, but really important. It's something that we should really be looking to include in our web pages from now on in. That's where basically you have the most essential information on the page: who, what, where, when, why, or how. All that information, that top kind of 10 to 25% of the page, so that someone, the second that they land on the page, they can do that quick assessment, look at the page, say, right, I understand what's on this, the information that I'm looking for is on the page, I'm in the right place, great, let's settle in to have a scroll or have a good read. So prioritizing that information up front, you're delivering an excellent user experience because you're asserting to that reader, again, this page is everything that you need. You don't need to bounce, you don't need to click anywhere else, you can stay right here and this page is going to be helpful for you. We see this a lot, for example, in hero sections on home pages, so it might not look like it, but actually this is the top of the inverted pyramid. So in the hero section you have, it's really clear. You understand what the product is, you've got screenshots, you've got social proof, you've got bullet points, giving a high-level overview of what the product, great. So this is the idea of the hero section, is to help give you that idea that you're in the right place. and to encourage you to keep reading. And we see this across all kinds of different web pages. We even see this on e-commerce pages as well. You can see in the top, above the fold, we have all those tiny little bits of all those tiny details, color, size, weight, price, all these kinds of things before you actually get into the deep explanations of the content of the product. So how to include an inverted pyramid on web pages. So you can do these too long didn't read introductions like you do in press releases. That's why I was referring to journalists. In press releases, usually the first 2 lines of the press release, it contain all that crucial information that you need to know. Where the event happened, why it happened, who was involved, etc. So the same thing here for blog post web pages. Those first couple of lines should help cement the idea, show the reader that they're in the right spot. Bullet point summaries as well at the top of the page, as we see on some of the home pages, to help people understand, yep, this is what this page is going to cover, I'm in the right place. And again, also another thing, in-text links in the hero section so they can potentially skip to where they want instantly. This is a really good for long blog posts, skyscraper posts, pillar posts, things like that as well. I've seen it actually on some of those infinite web pages, those recipe pages where it actually says skip to recipe. It's fantastic. Go to those websites all the time because it lets you skip past all the stuff, all the fluff in between to actually get to what you're looking for really quickly. The last thing, formatting is your friend. I know this probably is the first time you're hearing this, and all of you are good writers, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here today. But formatting on the web page is like a map for your users. The formatting helps your users figure out where they need to go, what they need to do, where the information is that they're looking for on the page, and also why they should care. And I don't know why the numbers didn't match up, but never mind, I think it's due for a coffee. Same thing we did here, again, back to the Kaya web page. We used as many different types of formatting as possible. We used bold in the subheading. We used bullet points throughout, one-liners. We used italics for image highlights and things like that. So varying up the formatting so people were able to scan through quickly, pick up the information, actually direct people's attention to the right place at the right time. So headings and subheadings acts like street signs, tell them this way, take left this way, turn right this way, or this paragraph has this information in it. Help them find their way throughout. As they're scrolling and scanning through the page, they can pick where they need to stop and settle in to read. Rich text, using bold, underline, italics to highlight specific pieces of information. Bullets, or in copywriting we call them fascinations. I don't know why, please don't ask me that. And numbered lists for easy scanning, and as well try to incorporate a variety of media to keep up interest or keep up that good momentum of reading. Now we've just gone through a whole lot, so that was the more heavily weighted part of this talk. So we've gone through a lot, doing a great job. Now we're on to the second part, and so that is about applying some conversion copywriting principles to help encourage people to stop. So once they've found where they want to settle in and read on the page, to help them stop, help them get into the reading, and then to actually persuade them. So now's our opportunity. We've asserted the reader, we've helped the reader figure out that they're on the right page, they're in the right place, information that they're here is looking for is here, great. Now it's our chance to actually make them convert. And actually, ChatGPT isn't one of the tips, sorry. So all these things that we're talking about, it's things that ChatGPT can't do. Sorry, couldn't help it. The idea is that conversion copywriting principles help optimize your content for that good user experience while subtly encouraging conversions. And there are 2 key elements. I'm not going to start talking about how to write good from A to Z. But I'm going to talk about just 2 key things today that are really important when you're looking to, in terms of conversion copywriting. First is incorporating the slippery slide or the slippery slope, and second is using voice of the customer wherever possible. The slippery slide is exactly what it sounds like. The slippery slide is the idea where you're actually taking your content and you are making the sentences flow one into another really smoothly and really seamlessly, so that when someone is reading, it feels like someone is talking to them. So how we write and how someone reads are 2 very, very different things. So we want to make sure that our writing feels very natural, it's very easy to read, and so by doing so, by having a good flow with the writing, the readers will be so compelled to actually read it that they feel like they can't actually stop reading until they've gotten all the way to the bottom of the page. So just as they're going down a slippery slide. You've probably seen this floating around on LinkedIn or Twitter at some point as well. It's just a short illustration of how of how using the slippery slope in your writing or varying up the sentence structure can make a huge impact. So for example, the first paragraph says, this sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. And on the other hand, we say, now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes when I'm certain the reader is rested, I'll engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it's important. So write with a combination of short, medium, and long sentences. Create a sound with your writing that pleases the reader's ear. Don't just write words, write music. You can see just a comparison just between the 2 different types of paragraphs. Now, even the second paragraph is 3 times as long as the first one, but it was actually very, very, very easy to read and listen to as a result. So just as a result, try to vary sentence length, cut sentences in the middle, and start with the next sentence like and or because. You can do that. And the super tip to actually help make sure that your actual writing has a really good flow is to read your writing back out to yourself while you're editing. It works like a charm absolutely every single time. There's a reason why developers do this. They call it rubber ducking. Well, they don't do it with words, but they do it with their code. They have to explain their code back out to the rubber duck that they have sitting on their desk, and they often find their own mistakes in their code actually while in the process of explaining. So it's the same thing. When you're reading or writing back out to yourself, you'll go, that doesn't sound right. It happens every time I put something in ChatGPT. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. Or when you pause naturally for breath, to take in a breath, you can say, right, I can put in a full stop there and I can separate the sentences, start a new sentence, read your writing back out to yourself. It makes it flow so much easier, and you can edit out. It cuts the editing time in half. And the second thing, and last and most important thing, is incorporate the voice of the customer into your content just as much as possible. But surprise, surprise, people don't like connecting with companies or with companies or robots. They really like connecting with people. So, and using voice of the customer in your copy or in your actual content will help your writing speak more deeply to your users, because it will use their own language to get through to them. Some excellent sources of VOC. Actually, I know that Emma Travis from Spiro, and I know that Sarah Sala are also going to be giving some talks on user research and how to collect voice of customer data on Friday. It would be great to check those out. But again, some excellent sources of voice of customer review mining, both your own reviews and competitive reviews, customer interview transcripts, fantastic. Qualitative surveys, not NPS, it's not helpful. It was good. It's not the kind of content that we're looking for that's going to actually help. The reason why we love to use the voice of customer is because it uncovers those user pain points, their desires and motivations, and it tells you what they actually want to know. So you don't have to guess at what you need to actually put on the page, that you can actually group different topics together or different types of keywords and things together on one page and solve for a lot of different things at the same time. But they will all fit heuristically in someone's mind from the user's perspective. And just to go back again to the Kai page as an example, I really recommend you have a Google for it. I interviewed 5 of their very happy customers, as well as the founders, for part of this project, and there were some amazing things that came out that we never would have found any other way. For example, one user said, I didn't want a mum bag. I wanted a stylish work bag, not a mum bag. I didn't want a bag that also looked like I was a little aeroplane trolley, like I was going on an aeroplane. That went in the copy. There were all these things that they actually said. I was looking for X type of bag, what I wanted in a bag. All of these kinds of things actually went directly into the copy, so that when people read the page, it feels like it's talking directly to them. I don't think anyone is actually going to Google, a bag that doesn't look like a mum bag. But at the same time, once they're actually in the page and they've settled in to read it, they feel like the copy is speaking to them and are actually more encouraged to convert as a result. These bags are about 750 euros each, so it's good that we're using the voice of the customer to help connect with the reader, because it's not exactly a cheap purchase. Okay, well done. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate you joining in, and I hope you found that helpful.